bloodied, unbowed. I have to apologise for my mispronunciation. Miss Sweeney. Anyway, moving swiftly on to our friend from the south, Matthew Sweeney. Matthew Sweeney was born County Donegal, Ireland, 1952. Lived for many years in London and more recently in Romania and Germany, but returned to the UK and Ireland frequently for work and earnings purposes. Since late 2007, he has been based in Cork, as well as publications mentioned elsewhere. Work is increasingly appearing in translation. Has lived as a freelance writer since the mid-1980s. Matthew Sweeney.
I was wandering around the centre of Cork today, around 1 o'clock, and the phone rang. And it was my publisher from London. He's never rung me before. I never gave him my phone number. And he said, "Your new book's in, it looks fantastic." The new book is a new old book. It's a retrospective, a book of poems going back to those poems I mentioned earlier. I was writing in the late 1970s in London. And it's time sometime to get hold of all the poems that want to escape and bring them back in, publish them again, give them a second life. Now, there's a sequence in here from 1976 that's never been in the book before, but which I was publishing in all those magazines back then. It's a sequence of moon poems. Shelley's somewhere behind them, Sylvia Plath too. Anyway, here's one of them. It's about insomnia. Night long, jabbed by wind's spear, shadows proud the wall. I read to make sleep jealous. The light dims with each word, threatens to vanish at the penultimate page. Cliché conducts the music. I transistorize to swap later for silence. I try again. Lightless I curl up, count dodos diving to Atlantis. But aches interrupt, worries tug my beard, and enemies goad my memory. And the curtain keeps flapping aside, letting moon's foot beam through. It won't be bedtime tales she'll come for either. You can only write down poems in your 20s. Aidan and I used to read loads and loads of poetry in translation. And one of the people we really liked was the great Greek poet Yanos Ritsos. I saw Ritsos interviewed late in his life, and he said he was asked by the interviewer, "How did you feel when the great Greek composer Theodorakis set your poems to music?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "When Theodorakis set my poems to music, the poems grew wings, and they flew out of my cottage, and they flew into all the fishermen's cottages, and sat on the table when they were eating bread and cheese and drinking wine." Statue after Ritsos. Woken we dressed, and followed the noise like magi, through narrow streets to the main square, where a fire fought the darkness, and around it a crowd sang. Sleepy-eyed we stood there. Wine was thrust in our hands, then we too were singing. The crowd grew, the flames probed the stars, and above the din, a single voice soared like a bull. Then we saw him, young head high and laughing, flinging his clothes behind him, clambering up the statue. And we suddenly knew his song of heroes and wild bristling horsemen, and now he was one. As proof, silence claimed him, and up there on that stone horse, stone white in the moonlight, he sat, motionless. We all watched as the noise seeped away, then we slunk into the dark streets from the dying fire, and the statue of two riders on the one horse stood for years in the square. lame waltzer. Crushed by an ambulance, he survived to grow cacti for a living and wear out tapes of Strauss. We grew used to the lilt in the sea air, heard through holes in the wind, to the limping shadow on the curtain on the half-bright August nights before the marquee pegged in town. Together we traced his missing years. His mail came from Germany, and once a truck with Munich number plates braked on the brae to ask me where Herr Coin the Cactus Graw lived. Ah, yeah, I said, you want the best lame valser in Europe? And I aimed them at the tide line. That's a real Donegal poem. The lighthouse keeper's son got arrested as he wobbled home on a lightless bicycle after a late drink. And he asked the cop if the pockmarked moon wasn't light enough, not to mention the plough's 7 stars and his dad's beam igniting the road twice a minute, then searching the sea the umpteenth time for nothing. Her song. Singing, she pedaled over the moonlit bridge. Did the trout in the river listen to her alto warble? Or did the words go unheard to the lowest stars? Her own words, wedded impromptu to the theme tune from Dr. Zhivago, words that detectives in bushes would relish, but they were still in bed. And already behind her, the moon was outdone by the flames in the thatch, showing the whitewash going brown, then black, the pony rearing at his rope, the sab locked in the yard, and no one in burning pajamas, framed for a second in the doorway. Her song was telling the trout why. The last one from this new old book I'll read is this one. It's a kind of Belfast poem. The Houseboat. Did Dick Blackstaff do it? Is he the fucker we want? We banged on the hatch of that houseboat under a blood-red moon while a police siren weaved among the flats and a dog howled till a shot rang out. But we heard no sound from the cabin, no whisper or muffled step. So we banged again and shouted, "Blackstaff, if you're in there, come out and clear your name." And these words rang over the water to the wreck of the tanker where the kids hung out in summer, but now was as bare as a crag. And the houseboat rocked as the wind whipped up the incoming tide and brought with it the smell of curry from the Star of Malabar. "Tell Blackstaff there's a bullet waiting for his skull," we shouted, before jumping back to land and cramming in Jack's Audi for the short ride home.